Here's a question from Fatima Hashim, and she asks, is it true having Ketu or Ketu in the second house will make you marry twice? Well, nothing in astrology makes you do anything, you know. The way I look at it, our basic natal charts are our current piece of software that we're running. So there's lots of different ways to use the application, if you like. But it is true that Ketu, or as I would call it, the dragon's tail, or the south node of the moon, in the second house is, well, first of all, let's talk about what they mean. The dragon's head and the dragon's tail are 2 points at which the moon crosses our ecliptic, and these seem to be important points that have a telling influence on our characters and our current sort of personalities. The North Node energy is always that unfamiliar territory to which we are pulled in this lifetime, but it can be a bit scary to kind of dive into it. And the South Node area is where we come from. We've been there, done it, got the t-shirt. I would call it in past lives. Others might call it just with our, genetic inheritance or our psychology. But the area of the South Node is an area that we feel more comfortable with, we're familiar with, and many people, in fact, live more with their South Node energy and don't dare to take the risk of stepping into their North Node energy. And really, the North Node, or the dragon's head, or the South Node, or the dragon's tail, or Ketu, is to do with our spiritual path. So the South Node, the dragon's tail, is where we have already achieved a lot, and we've become kind of comfortable and familiar with that area there. And the North Node, or the dragon's head, is what our soul, if you like, now would like us to experience. So in the second house, this is Taurus's house. Even though you might not have Taurus there, it might be another sign there, but still the house has a Taurian dynamic to it. And this is a house which values material security, the pleasures of the flesh, if you like, comforts, home comforts, food, kind of a reliability, a predictableness about it. And but it's if Ketu's there, then you've been there, done it, got the t-shirt already, and the soul's is the spiritual path is calling you into the 8th house, which can be about very radical change and new beginnings. The 8th house is Scorpio's house, and it used to be called the death rebirth house. So dying to an old way of being completely, and almost, I would say, burning the bridges, and moving on into a completely new parameter, a completely new paradigm is the better word there. But of course you can't force it. However, there might come a crossroads in your life, depending on where you're at and how old you are, etc., when you feel that this personal material security, this predictable setup where the South Node is, dragon's tail is kind of a bit boring or too restricting. What used to be a protective shell or scaffolding or safe and predictable environment becomes like a cage, and you get the feeling as though you want to bust out of it. And so that's when the soul's calling gets you to leap into the 8th house. And the 8th house is about letting go of the past in many ways, not throwing the baby out with the bathwater, but really taking that risk and having a mega declutter and massive reworking of life, and lots and lots of changes, and almost like a reinvention of yourself. So the question was, will Ketu in the second house make you marry twice? It won't make you do anything. You're the one that should be at the wheel here and in the driving seat. But it can mean possibly that the decision you made for the original, if we take this as an example, marriage, you were a very different person to the person you become when you are actually reinventing yourself. Now, if there is a genuine and deep bond there, and that person is also changing, then you can take that marriage with you into the 8th house. But there would have to be some very, very radical reworking going on there, I think. And maybe you can both share that, or maybe not. So hopefully that sort of gives you an answer to your question, and thank you for that, Fatima.